National Education Policy 2020, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India.
6.10. Ensuring the inclusion and equal participation of children with disabilities in EC and the schooling system will also be accorded the highest priority. Children with disabilities will be enabled to fully participate in the regular schooling process from the foundational stage to higher education. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities (RPWD) Act 2016 defines inclusive education as a system of education wherein students with and without disabilities learn together in the system of teaching and learning is suitably adapted to meet the learning needs of different types of students with disabilities. This policy is in complete consonance with the provisions of the RPWD Act 2016 and endorses all its recommendations with regard to school education. While preparing the National Curriculum Framework (NCERT) will ensure that consultations are held with expert bodies, such as National Institutes of DEPWD. 6.11. To this end, school complexes will be provided resources for the integration of children with disabilities, recruitment of special educators with cross-disability training, and for the establishment of resource centers wherever needed, especially for children with severe or multiple disabilities. Barrier-free access for all children with disabilities will be enabled as per the RPWD Act. Different categories of children with disabilities have differing needs. Schools and school complexes will work and be supported for providing all children with disabilities accommodations and support mechanisms tailored to suit their needs and to ensure their full participation and inclusion in the classroom. In particular, assistive devices and appropriate technology-based tools, as well as adequate and language-appropriate teaching learning materials, e.g., textbooks and accessible formats such as large print and braille, will be made available to help children with disabilities integrate more easily into classrooms and engage with teachers and their peers. This will apply to all school activities including arts, sports, and vocational education. NIOS will develop high-quality modules to teach Indian Sign Language and to teach other basic subjects using Indian Sign Language. Adequate attention will be paid to the safety and security of children with disabilities. 6.12. As per the RPWD Act 2016, children with benchmark disabilities shall have the choice of regular or special schooling. Resource centers in conjunction with special educators will support the rehabilitation and educational needs of learners with severe or multiple disabilities, and will assist parents, guardians in achieving high-quality homeschooling and skilling for such students as needed. Home-based education will continue to be a choice available for children with severe and profound disabilities who are unable to go to schools. The children under home-based education must be treated as equal to any other child in the general system. There shall be an audit of home-based education for its efficiency and effectiveness using the principle of equity and equality of opportunity. Guidelines and standards for home-based schooling shall be developed based on this audit in line with the RPWD Act 2016. While it is clear that the education of all children with disabilities is the responsibility of the state, technology-based solutions will be used for the orientation of parents, caregivers, along with wide-scale dissemination of learning materials to enable parents, caregivers to actively support their children's learning needs will be accorded priority. 6.13. Most classrooms have children with specific learning disabilities who need continuous support. Research is clear that the earlier such support begins, the better the chances of progress. Teachers must be helped to identify such learning disabilities early and plan specifically for their mitigation. Specific actions will include the use of appropriate technology, allowing and enabling children to work at their own pace, with flexible curricula to leverage each child's strengths, and creating an ecosystem for appropriate assessment and certification. Assessment and certification agencies, including the proposed new National Assessment Center, PARC, will formulate guidelines and recommend appropriate tools for conducting such assessment, from the foundational stage to higher education, including for entrance exams, in order to ensure equitable access and opportunities for all students with learning disabilities. 6.14. The awareness and knowledge of how to teach children with specific disabilities, including learning disabilities, will be an integral part of all teacher education programs, along with gender sensitization and sensitization towards all underrepresented groups in order to reverse their underrepresentation. 6.15. Alternative forms of schools will be encouraged to preserve their traditions or alternative pedagogical styles. At the same time, they will be supported to integrate the subject and learning areas prescribed by the NCFSE into their curricula in order to reduce and eventually eliminate the underrepresentation of children from these schools in higher education. In particular, financial assistance will be provided to introduce science, mathematics, social studies, Hindi, English, state languages, or other relevant subjects in the curriculum, as may be desired by these schools. This would enable children studying in these schools to attain the learning outcomes defined for grades 1 to 12. Furthermore, students in such schools would be encouraged to appear for state or other board examinations and assessments by the NTA, and thereby enroll in higher education institutions. Capacities of teachers in the teaching of science, mathematics, language, and social studies will be developed, including orientation to new pedagogical practices. Libraries and laboratories will be strengthened, and adequate reading materials like books, journals, etc., and other teaching learning materials will be made available. 6.16. Within SEDGs and with respect to all the above policy points, special attention will be given to reduce the disparities in the educational development of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. As a part of the efforts to enhance participation in school education, special hostels in dedicated regions, bridge courses, and financial assistance through fee waivers and scholarships will be offered to talented and meritorious students from all SEDGs on a larger scale, especially at the secondary stage of education, to facilitate their entry into higher education. 6.17. Under the aegis of the Ministry of Defense, state governments may encourage opening NCC wings in their secondary and higher secondary schools, including those located in tribal-dominated areas. This will enable harnessing of the natural talent and unique potential of students, which in turn would help them to aspire to a successful career in the defense forces. 6.18. All scholarships and other opportunities and schemes available to students from SEDGs will be coordinated and announced by a single agency and website to ensure that all students are aware of, and may apply in a simplified manner on such a single window system, as per eligibility. 6.19. All the above policies and measures are absolutely critical to attaining full inclusion and equity for all SEDGs, but they are not sufficient. What is also required is a change in school culture. All participants in the school education system, including teachers, principals, administrators, counselors, and students, will be sensitized to the requirements of all students, the notions of inclusion and equity, and the respect, dignity, and privacy of all persons. Such an educational culture will provide the best pathway to help students become empowered individuals, who, in turn, will enable society to transform into one that is responsible towards its most vulnerable citizens. Inclusion and equity will become a key aspect of teacher education and training for all leadership, administrative, and other positions in schools. Efforts will be made to recruit more high-quality teachers and leaders from SEDGs in order to bring an excellent role models for all students. 6.20. Students will be sensitized through this new school culture, brought in by teachers, trained social workers and counselors, as well as through corresponding changes to bring in an inclusive school curriculum. The school curriculum will include, early on, material on human values such as respect for all persons, empathy, tolerance, human rights, gender equality, nonviolence, global citizenship, inclusion, and equity. It would also include more detailed knowledge of various cultures, religions, languages, gender identities, etc. to sensitize and develop respect for diversity. Any biases and stereotypes in school curriculum will be removed, and more material will be included that is relevant and relatable to all communities.